it's interesting. I think people tend to worry about the wrong things about social media. So you hear a lot about, the idea that kids are on social media too long and that's causing suicide and mental health problems. And there's actually not really strong evidence for that. The idea that, at least, spending time, if you're looking at time spent as a variable, there doesn't seem to be much evidence to suggest that time spent in social media necessarily is causing like teen suicide or mental health problems or things like that. Now, what you do with it, I mean, if depending upon the kind of activities you're engaged in, if you're doom scrolling for hours and hours, that might be a little bit different. But
what is that?
Speaking,
doom scrolling? What is
doom scrolling? Okay, so I have to try to define one of these internet terms now. Doom scrolling is basically when you kind of keep looking through social media and you're upset about something and you keep looking for more information about that thing you're upset about. I don't know, they've canceled your favorite television show and you're just super, super upset. And you just keep looking for more and more information about, are they going to bring it back? No. What about now? Are they going to bring it back now? No, it's only been half an hour. I'm using a very mild example of that,
sure.
But that can be over any major event, politics, whether you're following Trump or Biden, all that kind of stuff. Just look, rather most of us want to say we're not having fun, so we break off and go do something else. This is really causing more anxiety and stuff. But some people sometimes when they get on social media will just keep doing it. They'll just keep looking for more and more information. Or they get into an argument, and rather than just saying, you know what, this is a stupid fight on Twitter, and it's really ruining my day or my weekend or whatever else, I just stop. They'll just keep doing it, without.
Well, there is there's obviously a mental component to it, but that mental component has a physical, there's a physical side effect to that too. I've been really amped up and angry online, and there's a part of me that likes it. It's like, ooh, I'm really enjoying this. The other day I had to pull myself back from really laying into this woman I went to high school with. It's like, oh, I could have really just, just laid into her on Facebook. But fortunately, there was better angels of my nature were able to pull me back from the brink.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, the hope is that more and more people will do that. But yeah, there is this sense of, we're an aggressive species. We like aggression. I think what you're kind of talking about is exactly, that it's easy to get drawn into it. Because there's a part of us that I think inherently likes to defeat someone else, and especially if it's on social media, we're not seeing the other person, they belong to some other camp or tribe or whatever that we already don't like. It can very easily feel like we get drawn into these, what it really are, if you think about stupid fights, but at the moment you feel like you're stopping the communists or stopping the Nazis. There is this kind of rhetoric around a lot of these stupid internet fights. And I think, in the moment people sort of earnestly think it's true. But that kind of comes down to I don't think that the real problems with social media are, causing mental health problems, but there is this sense of, a lot of these, the models seem to be built on this idea of throwing the most, emotionally evocative things in front of us, and getting us to react to that and then keeping us involved in those sorts of activities. And there is this sense of, it can amplify. The people that are most prone to doing this is are people that likely have some struggles in their personal life, or, in their mental health or whatever else. That's sometimes to think about when we're actually engaging in some of these stupid internet fights with someone we may not know, is that they may be really struggling with some issues, and grinding them into the ground may not be the kindest thing for us to do. But it also can give these more extreme voices on either side of any given debate the perception they speak for a majority, that if they are the ones that, companies are hearing, or politicians are hearing, or other groups of people are hearing, then there is this sense of, and that kind of comes down back to this mobbing on Twitter. And so, people react to it. They say all these people on Twitter are angry about something, so it must be something that's worth being angry about. And oftentimes that's, 1% of people on Twitter, which is something I don't know, was it 5% of people in the real world? So it's a very, very narrow opinion that has this, amplified sense of power in real life. So that I think is part of the trouble that we're having with social media now, is the extent to which companies, politicians and stuff are taking Twitter seriously, and think that like if there was a book, Abigail Schreier's, what was it called? God, I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden. Irreversible Damage. It was about, trans individuals and stuff. And there were a couple people, I mean, there are a lot of people don't like the book, some people consider it to be transphobic and stuff, and that's fair. But some people try to get it banned, by posting things to Target on Twitter, or at least when I say banned, I mean that Target wouldn't sell it at any rate. And initially Target went with that. A few people kind of complained on Twitter. So Target initially, said that they weren't going to sell the book anymore. And then there was a backlash, and then they decided to sell it again. But there is that sense of like a few people get angry on social media, and that can have some real impacts on the rest of us, in ways that are large and, and small. And I think that's really going to be like one of the biggest things, in addition to, of course, the various privacy issues that have been going on for a while, and just the fact that, how much power these big tech providers have over speech right now. I think those things are going to be like the main issues, the main challenges we're going to have with social media, not so much this idea that teenagers are committing suicide or becoming depressed because of their time on social media.
Wow. So there seems like there's nothing good, where it's like, if the best that we could hope for is that teenagers aren't committing suicide. Like, all right, great, fantastic. And then it's like, oh man, what comes next?